Hi guys, Dogre here with a new video, and this video will be my Season 1 Destruction Warlock PvP guide video for Dragonflight, and we have the latest changes on the patch notes. I think Destruction Warlocks are not going to be switched or changed until then. They might buff it, but nerf, I don't think so, because it's not really the most meta spec, but I still want to cover it because it's the caster I'm going to play this season. It's not the easiest caster I can play with, because I know Affliction is more meta, I know Demonology is more meta, I know there's like plenty of casters that are going to be more easy to play than Destruction, but I just love the feel of the class, just because I always loved Destruction Warlock since the days of Mist of Pandaria. Whenever I did like a big Chaos Bolt, it always felt right. But right now, I'm going to cover a special build that I went for. I did a bit of testing, and I decided to go for a stat that is not really the most logical stat, but it feels amazing to do insane amount of damage. So I'm going to cover the stats. I'm going to cover the builds that you can play for, the flexible talents here and there, and the decision about a few talents. I'm going to also explain to you guys why I do this. I will cover about the PvP talents, the strengths and weaknesses of that build, and that class and that spec, I would say. And we will cover about the comps that you can play in twos, in threes, and how you can play it in solo shuffle. But I will make a special video whenever solo shuffle is live, and I will cover my gameplay and try to comment what I'm doing to actually like have success or not. Maybe I will have no success in solo shuffle, but I feel with this build I can do serious damage. I'm going to cover right now. So the Destruction Warlock. It is a class, a spec that is highly bursty, but also not as bursty as you would think. The consistent damage is actually very high, but the problem is you have a lot of casted abilities, and that's very annoying. And most of the time, whenever you have to cast a lot of abilities, you want to go for haste. Now, I will cover it with the build, but I went for a mastery haste build where I try to have a 50-50 feel. I still have more haste than mastery, but I might just change a few pieces to actually get more mastery. I've tested it around by buying another ring, mastery ring. I went for a double mastery ring actually. I have a mastery neck. I want to check also a better gear because I need to grind it a bit. I will grind it before the season starts. But the things that I switched out and the things that I switched in made the most sense. The damage is actually incredible. The potential of bursting is incredible. And instead of like throwing wet noodles chaos balls, you will throw some big 70k, sometimes 80k chaos balls onto the enemy. And trust me, whenever they have like 2 chaos balls flying in doing 80k, I mean, someone is going to die at that very moment, especially if you are helped in a comp that is actually played around you. But let's talk really quickly what you're going to go for enchants wise. I didn't really have the time to enchant it before the gem and enchant before the video, but what you want to do is have 3 sockets on the neck and go for a stamina mastery gem. So you can buy stamina mastery gems very easily. You can also go for haste, but with this build I feel like haste isn't really the priority anymore, because you have a lot of modifiers to actually modify the haste effect and the casting abilities to actually be casted faster, and I feel like you miss the damage. You don't really miss the casting speed. I think if you're playing in trees and you are well helped with another caster, you don't really need to cast everything in a second. You can really take your time and do big ass damage whenever you can actually cast those abilities. Now for cloak, I go for speed because I want to be speedy. Again, I'm very cheap. You should go for speed. On your chest, you should go waking stats. On your bracers, you should also go for speed. On your boots, you should also go for speed. I didn't enchant it, so my bad, guys. But you should go for the speed enchant on your boots so you can have 10% or at least close to 10% speed. On your items, you should go for as much mastery as possible, but I feel like indeed you need to do 50-50, so you need to go for a haste build mixed in some pieces from mastery. I'm going to explain why in a second. I'm going to show you on a dummy, and I will make a gameplay video for tonight or maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I already uploaded a video this morning, and if I have time, I will upload another video about this build, because this build is actually feeling alright. And I know I have a lot of Arms Warrior viewers, but if you want to check a caster that is hard to play and not very meta, but you want to have fun and do some big chaos bots, I think Destruction is a caster for you. So let's talk about the fun part, which is the build. Now, you're going to ask me a few questions. Why are you not playing Grimoire of Sacrifice? Why are you actually built like this? Like you don't take Avatar of Destruction, or you don't take Master Ritualist. You're not taking, for example, Reign of Chaos or Grand Warlock's Design. You are actually built half-half. I'm going to explain why really quickly, but I'm going to start with the class tree first, because that's actually very important for you Warlocks. If you want to survive as a Destruction Warlock, I'm going to be honest, Grimoire of Sacrifice isn't the play. I know that Grimoire of Sacrifice adds DPS, and you are all about the DPS, and I understand that you are all about the DPS, but sometimes you don't have the points to actually allocate towards that playstyle. I'm going to talk about that in the Destruction tree, but let's start with the class tree. The class tree is very simple. You have a lot of flexible talents, and you are not, or at least you don't need to follow to the T the class tree that I'm proposing. But I'm going to explain why I play like this and on which points you can actually remove and put depending on the situations. Again, let's talk about the class tree. We start with Demonic Circle. Every Warlock starts with that. And you're going to go Demon Skin, Fell Armor, because you want to survive. Again, class tree is about survival and utility. We're going to take a lot of survivable talents, I would say. So Demon Skin, Fell Armor. Demon Skin is going to get nerfed. I feel like Fell Armor is not nerfed, so that's good. We play Curse of Enfeeblement. It's something that is obviously needed as a Warlock. But what we take is Amplify Curse. Again, something very interesting, because you don't know how much you can actually own Fury Warriors by doing Amplify Curse and then Curse of Weakness. They will not crit. Or even just Amplify Curse into Curse of Exhaustion. That guy is just not going to move at all. It will be a 70% slow, which is pretty big. People are like underestimating. But a 20-second CD because you take Teachings of the Satyr. You don't need Disparate back because you do not drain life. And I know it's tempting because Soul Burn helps you to survive with drain life. It's maybe the only occasion where you're going to do a drain life, but me myself, I'm not doing that, because every time I'm drain lifing, I'm getting kicked, and then I can do chaos bolts, but often than not, you're drain lifing because you need to survive, and if you're getting kicked by a drain life, then you're probably going to die in the 2 GCDs after. We play with Demonic Embrace, obviously increase in stamina. We take Demonic Inspiration, which basically speeds up the primary pet because we don't play with Grimoire of Sacrifice, because actually we want Sweet Souls. It heals you for an additional 10% of your maximum HP. And whenever your allies use a Hellstone, it also heals you. And since you either are focused or you are cleaved, because you're always getting focused as a Destruction Warlock, you're going to get some value from it. And you will need every bit of help to actually survive. So that's why we take this. This is really not worth it, Demonic Inspiration, but Sweet Souls is something that is quite worth it, so we do take it. We play with Wrathful Minion. Again, not really needed, since we don't play Grimoire of Sacrifice, but we have to take Demonic Gateway, so we have to go through. We play with the Mortal Coil, because you have Havoc. I guess you could maybe play with Hall of Terror, but it's so good, Mortal Coil, that you really won't change. Maybe for OPGs, because they are grouped up and you want to do a Hall of Terror, but even then, I think Mortal Coil is just that much better. We go for Shadow Fury, obviously. We have Strength of Will and not Dark Accord, because we want increased wall, because else it will be a silly 25%. And 25% is not going to make you survive any damage. Dark Pact, obviously, and we go for the reduce the cooldown of Dark Pact by 15 seconds, because then you can basically take Dark Pact every time they're doing a go on you, which is super valuable. You could also go for Ichor of the Devils, but I prefer just a frequent donor. We play with Lifeblood. When you use a Halfstone, you get Leash. You pretty much take it because the other talent is a Drain Life talent. I wish it wasn't really Drain Life dependent on this tree, but it is for destruction, unfortunately. So we do go for Lifeblood, and we took slower CD on Shadow Fury, so you can actually stun much more often. But you can also take Shadow Flame, which is something whenever you're getting kicked, you can use Shadow Flame. So basically, you will always have a slow, but I sometimes found it a bit buggy. Sometimes I was facing the enemy, I did Shadow Flame, and he didn't get hit. So I didn't really want the inconsistency. Anyways, it was inconsistent. I can't speak anymore. So I took Dark Fury instead. We do take Soul Link because that's actually what is going to make you survive more damage. Soul Link is much more valuable if you have a pet. So 10% of all damage you take is going to be taken by the pet. And we take Profane Bargain, which below 35% it becomes 10 extra percent on the pet. So it's a very good DR. You will be less likely to die. Problem is your pet is going to be very, very squishy. So what you could do is remove Demonic Inspiration and Sweet Souls to get Fell Domination and maybe an extra point in Fell Pact. Or you can remove Dark Fury and those two to get 2 points in Fell Pact, so you can actually survive much more longer. At least your pet will survive much more longer. We take also Fell Synergy. It will be nerfed next patch. Unfortunately, Destruction doesn't really need a nerf. So it got caught into the impact, unfortunately. But we have nothing else to take, so we do take that. And we take Grimoire of Sacrifice Synergy because this is also something that is going to help you. It will pop 10% more damage for you, which basically will result towards bigger chaos bots, and that's what we want, and that's how we are actually playing with this build. We are playing a chaos bot build, which is also a Shadowburn build, which is also a Incinerate build. We have everything mixed up, which is perfect for PvP. We have Resolute Barrier again. We're trying to survive as much as possible. So if every time you're getting attacked for at least 5% of your health, it decreases the cooldown of Unending Resolve and cannot occur more than 20 seconds. Unending Resolve is a 3-minute CD. This pops all the time because they are always on you. You will always pop it every 20 seconds. And if they don't, they are going to die. So it's a win-win. There is no real other options. What you could do, and don't quote me on that, it can change since the meta can change. You could remove Fell Synergy with Resolute Barrier, and what you're going to do is taking Teachings of the Black Harvest, which is really not that useful, but what we want is the Demonic Resilience. So basically it reduces the chances you will be critically struck by 4%, and all damage your primary demon takes is reduced by 15%, and this is also linked with Soul Link. So if they take 20% of that, it will be reduced 15% of that 20%. So it will survive a bit longer. It's useful to not get crit, but what you can also do is just amplify Curse into Curse of Weakness. So there are a few options here and there, but I like a Resolute Barrier, to be honest. And we take, of course, Soul Conduit because we want Soul Burn, which is one of the most OP things of Warlocks. Makes you more tanky, makes you more mobile. Nobody can stop your Demonic Gateway anymore. It's on a 6-second CD, which basically burns 1 Soul Shard. And okay, Soul Shards are more important for destruction, so basically you don't have one specific good thing on the class tree that is only good for you as a destruction, but you get some benefit from it compared to Affliction and Demonology. I think mobility is more important for a destruction Warlock. We do not take Inquisitor's Gaze because the damage is very noticeable, and we do not take Grim Feast because you are not going to drain life. So this is the class tree. Now let's talk about the spec tree. And I'm going to say that I don't have the best We have a subscriber, which is Juluz. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, I don't have the best spec, I think. For me, it works the best, though. I've tested loads of loadouts. I've tested everything. I'm going to call this a video because then I can just link it and put it in the comments. So the build will be in the comment section below. And I really like that build. The problems with that build is you will have a lot less consistent damage with Immolate, so Immolate will not do the damage that it can be doing because you're not going to take that Scalding Flames. You're not going to take Grimoire of Sacrifice, so the easiness of not having a pet to worry about and the extra damage that you can have with Grimoire of Sacrifice, which basically crits around 10k, so it's not like bad. That's unfortunate. But you do gain a few interesting things. We're going for Flashpoint, so you get increased haste, and that's something very nice to have because you don't build for haste. So having 12% haste, which is going to be very frequent because people are always getting topped full health in arenas. So this is going to be pretty much always available to you. So that's very nice. We do take Ashen Remains, which increases 10% of your Chaos Bolt and Incinerate. I repeated myself, but I'm going to repeat myself right now. It is a Chaos Bolt, Shadow Burn, Conflag, and Incinerate build. You love all those 4 things with this build. I'm going to explain why. But this is going to increase 10% for your damage for Chaos Bolt and Incinerate. Eradication is going to increase 10% of your chaos, like every time you're going to do a chaos bot is going to actually improve your damage towards that target for 10%. So you'll have 20% increased damage. And then you have, of course, Ruin, which is going to improve your Conflag and Shadowburn damage. It's not very important, but it's always going to be very nice whenever you're going to crit for 75k on a Conflag. Which happened one time for me because everything popped, like my trinket, my weapon, my Sophic Writ enchantment also popped. So you have a lot of ways to actually do damage, but if it crits for 50k, it's actually very good for you to actually like killing people with conflags, right? So Ruin is very good. We take Roaring Blaze, again 25% increased damage to incinerate, immolate, conflags, and all of this just because you conflag someone. So it's very, very nice. You could also play with improved conflag rates, but I like the extra damage that you can have because of Roaring Blaze. I wish you could have improved conflag and Roaring Blaze, but unfortunately we don't have that option. We do take reduced cooldown on conflag. We also have reverse entropy. Again, a 15% haste modifier for your destruction warlock. So you can have a few haste on your stats and then reverse entropy and then flashpoint, which basically gives together 27% haste, which is plenty enough to actually cast things. Havoc is pretty much something you will always have to need to like spec into because you need to actually be able to do double mortal call. We have improved immolate because we don't want to apply all the time. Backlash is quite nice because if you have a melee on you, you're going to be able to do incinerate, but also that 3% increased critical strike chance is also very nice for your conflags, for your shadow burn, or whatever you can actually do. We also have conflagration of chaos, so you can have increased critical strike chance on your conflag and shadow burn, but also increases damage chance by the amount of critical strike chance. So you will have some bigger crits on your conflags and Shadowburn. Now the interesting part. We're not going to take Grimoire of Sacrifice, but what are the build like design? What are you going to take at the lower end? Well, I take Ritual of Ruin with Burn to Ashes, which increases the incinerates by 30%, and it is going to be available pretty much all the time. We have Madness of the Ajakir to again improve your damage of Chaos Bolt and Shadowburn, and it will of course reduce the cast time of Chaos Bolt. So again, haste from those 2 talent points like on Flashpoint and Reverse Entropy. Your stats also give some haste, and you have of course the chance to do a Chaos Bolt and then a faster Chaos Bolt. And then you have also Ritual of Ruin, which basically halves the cast time of Chaos Bolt. every 15 shards that you're going to use, and you're going to use a lot of shards. Now, you didn't really take Avatar of Destruction, and you didn't really take Master Ritualist, you're going to ask me. It's because of the lack of points you have. You have to spend those points elsewhere, and we have a few problems point-wise, I would say, to make it possible to build like this. You can remove a point into explosive potential, so you can spend that point into, let's say, Avatar of Destruction, or maybe you want a faster Infernal, or you want maybe Reign of Chaos, because you're going to do in Infernal, and then you're going to spend all those shards as fast as possible. But I found that Explosive Potential is the most consistent thing. But I can understand that you maybe want to play something else, or a bit more all in, I would say. So you could go for Grand Warlock's design if you want to have faster Infernals, because whenever you're doing an Infernal, you're going to do insane amounts of damage. Because of Crashing Chaos, reducing your amounts of Chaos Bolts, like shards that you need to use for your Chaos Bolts. Like using one shard to a Chaos Bolt is pretty much all the time available, because you have your Infernal regenerating shards, your immolate damage, your conflags, because you're going to weave some conflags here and there, and you have also your soul shard, soul conduit refund that has a 10% chance, which is basically more, because it's every soul shard, right? So you're spending 2, getting 10% on each, so it can just refund all the time, right? We play with Chaos Incarnate, and that's actually the reason why you go for full mastery, because you get full value on mastery with your Chaos Bolt, and it is actually insane the amount of damage you can do with having a lot of mastery. You could also go for maybe Dimensional Rift, but it does like little damage. It is not that good. It has a long CD, and often you're going to spend all those 3 charges at the same time, and then you're like, I'm playing without a talent for so long. Like, it's fun. I wish it was on a different place, but Chaos Incarnate is really the reason why it feels so good to actually like stack mastery. I'm going to show you on a dummy, like PvP dummy, how much damage it can produce, and in PvP you can shave pretty much 15% of that damage to make it realistic, because of the versatility and because maybe some innate damage reduction that an enemy can have, but the damage is still good. So the reason why I take Crashing Chaos is because I like to actually spam those Chaos Bolts, and it is the only way to actually spend as little soul shards as possible. Avatar of Destruction is very good, but the duration is very low, and it doesn't stun in PvP. And the damage is alright, but it doesn't stun in PvP. So I feel like for the value that it is currently available, I feel like you should not take Avatar of Destruction, and you should spend those points elsewhere, which is basically why we take Chaos Incarnate and why we take Crashing Chaos. Also, Avatar of Destruction, if you take it, you kind of need to take Master Ritualist, because you want to actually pop it as often as possible. While, for example, Ritual of Ruin, why do I take it? It is basically to go for Burn to Ashes. And the extra 50% chance, like 50% reduced cast time on Chaos Bot, and the like it won't consume soul shards. That is a bonus for me. It's nice to have, but I really want to have Burn to Ashes, because Incinerate actually hits for very hard, and it just meshes well with this build. Now let's go into. I'm going to talk about the PvP talents. So PvP talents, it's very flexible. You can play whatever you want, to be honest. But what I do is pretty much Bounce of Fell, Cremation, because the HPs are quite high, so now you have a lot of value with that. But you can just go away and go Precognition. So that's also a talent that I'm using, and you will have to fake cast a lot. But whenever you are actually able to fake cast a lot, you will have a lot of value with this, because you will not be able to be stopped. And if you're not stoppable and you are in your actual burst rotation, people are going to fall dead. So that's a good thing. You can take Nether Ward, which is basically super needed versus a few comps, especially in trees versus Caster Cleaves. You can play casting circle, which is also super interesting versus melee, so people cannot stop you, and you will be able to do your full rotation for free. Gateway Mastery is not interesting anymore, since basically you have Soulburn to cast instantly, and the second part is maybe somewhat interesting, but I would not go for a 30-second CD on a demonic gateway, because you're not going to gateway all the time. You're going to gateway whenever it is needed. So that's why it's not really as valuable to have it every minute, since you're not going to gateway every minute. Bane of Fragility is not useful for me. It's not that great. Bane of Havoc, I sometimes use it in BGs depending on the maps. Like for example, Eye of the Storm. It's fun to actually do a Bane of Havoc and have a lot of Chaos Balls throwing at their way. But in arenas, it's not really useful. Essence Drain. We're not doing lifesteal, so drain life, so you don't need to take essence drain. Shadow Rift is actually very fun, so you can Shadow Rift people out of the Bonds of Hell, and Bonds of Hell actually does a lot of damage. So if you can just do a play like, for example, stun, Bonds of Hell, and then Shadow Rift, they will stay into the Bonds of Hell, or they will leap out of it, so they will still get damaged. But if they are not willing to actually flee from the Bonds of Hell, they will still get the damage by getting transported out of that Bonds of Hell. So it's a very nice ability and very nice interaction, I would say. Precognition, again, very strong. I play that often, especially versus casters, because it's easy to actually see that they are going for a interrupt. Call Observer, I'd never play it. I don't like it. It's not really fun either, so just ignore that PvP talent. And Fell Fissure is actually nice with a Shadow Priest. So if you're playing with a Shadow Priest in trees, having reduced healing and a reduction on movement speed because of your Chaos Bolt is actually very valuable for that team. So those are my PvP talents. And what I play mostly is Netherward, Casting Circle, and Precognition, and sometimes, depending on the comps that I'm playing, Cremation is also very nice and very valuable. So, strengths and weaknesses. Strengths and weaknesses of that class. So the strengths are, you can obliterate someone if they are just not looking at you. If you are somehow, some way for like free, and you're being able to actually do your full rotation, you're going to decimate someone. You're going to make people actually die in this game and also the next game. That's how much you can burst. But the weakness is, it's very easily trainable. It's actually, you have a big target on you. Whenever you're entering as a Destruction Warlock, you are going to have a bad time. Basically, doing 2v2 in arenas is not really possible as Destruction. You can do that, you can have success, but it is basically an anomaly. People are just going to pillar hug, they're going to run away whenever you're going to burst. They will see the Infernal, they will try to just go away. If they see you cast Chaos Bolt, they're going to kick you. You will have to try to make them kick on fire and on shadow, but that's not very easy because everyone knows that they need to kick Chaos Bolt. You have a lot of casted abilities, so it's also easy to just line of sight, or just ignore it, or just kick it, or just mini CC you by doing it for a stun or fear, or anything else to actually stop you. The strength again about Destruction Warlock is, it is fun to play with if you're another caster. So other casters will enjoy to play with you because they know if you are a Frost Mage, you are the second target. So if they target you, the Destruction will go ham. If they target the Destruction, you will go ham as a Frost Mage. And that's something not every caster can give. Like for example, a Balance Druid, you don't really want to pair with a Balance Druid because often than not, you don't really want to focus a Balance Druid. So if you're a caster and you play with a Balance Druid, you are the one getting focused. While, for example, Destruction Warlock playing with a Frost Mage, they both know they're going to get focused at one point, but they don't know which one is going to get focused, and you can play accordingly because of it. Your burst is also very high, so that's also a very good strength. It is also very fun to play. It's unfortunate that you have to find ways to make Chaos Bolt hurt, but I'm going to show you a bit of the rotation, right? Just a bit of the rotation. I'm going to remove impending ruin because then it's a bit more fair. So you have no impending ruin stacks, which is basically the ritual of ruin. And what you want to do is always apply immolate. Of course, they are already low HP, so you won't get the actual haste buff, but that's not a problem. So you farm your shards. And what you're going to do is at one point you're going to fear him, and then you're going to stun him because he's going to break, and then Chaos Bolt 2 times, and you're going to do an Infernal, and then you're going to conflag, and then you're going to do your burst rotation. And very simple, your burst rotation. And of course you will have your allies to actually help you to slow them, but you already see that the amount of damage that I'm producing is also actually very high, and I'm not even applying immolate right now. So again, a lot of damage. You're going to do insane amount of damage at one point, like 96k on Chaos Bolt. It seems not very high because a lot of classes can do more, but you need to remember whenever you're casting and you're going to actually have a bit of time to actually do a lot of Chaos Bolts, this is noticeable. People are going to get one-shotted or one-tapped or one rotation, I would say, because it's a whole rotation. It's not like really a one Chaos Bolt that is going to kill you, but the damage is really noticeable. And when at one point you have no burst anymore, what you can do is basically do shadow burns, and you can just reapply immolates on different targets. For example, this one, and then we can just go back to actually do a lot of damage. And yes, with this build, you're not going to have like all the time some big chaos bolts going on, but that's pretty much you have to play around it. You don't need to expend all your shards at all time, like all the time. You also need to know that the target is not going to kill or die at any point. You need to understand that you need a few soul shards to actually do insane amounts of damage, and once you understand that, you will do insane amounts of damage. So my highest chaos bolt on a PvP dummy, which you can shave 15% of it and damage reduction and such, 97k. So what I do in PvP is pretty much 70k with this build, and 70k like times 2 or times 3, depending if you have Ritual of Doom, is pretty big. You're going to basically kill someone in one rotation if they are letting you cast, and that's the hardest part. You need to actually understand that you are easily killed, so you need to kite as much as you can. You can just do Curse of Amplify Curse with Curse of Exhaustion. You can slow them, and then you can just TP away with your Demonic Circle with Soul Burn, and then run away. You're unrootable, unslowable, and you're good. So I mean, it's very hard to play destruction, right? I'm not going to lie that it is a simple spec. It is not a simple spec. Are you going to be more successful with destruction than, let's say, with a affliction warlock? I'm not going to lie. The affliction warlock, you're going to have much more success. But if you are trying to find something that is going to be very fun to play, and you have like a frost mage friend or a shadow priest friend or whatever friend that is actually a caster that can play with you, you can have fun in twos, you can have fun in threes, and in solo shuffle it's going to be a bit harder to play. I'm going to cover it in future videos, but you need to understand that the path of the destruction warlock is actually not the easiest one. The easiest one is probably going affliction warlock. Of the destruction warlock, the easiest part is to go affliction warlock and to just wreck with your affliction warlock. But sometimes playing affliction warlock and not liking the current way of how it does damage is probably the way to go. You need to actually play what you like, and if you like destruction warlock, please stick to destruction warlock, even though it's hard to play. It will be satisfying at the end. So you will eventually get a buff, and you are the one that has trained Destruction Warlock through the tough times. Again, let's talk really quickly about the comps, and then we can just proceed to the end of the video. The comps that you can play in twos is often with a healer. I would suggest to play with a healer that has a stun. So basically go with an evoker, like a preservation evoker has a stun. You can do that with that. But they have to change the class tree accordingly. You can play with a holy priest. Chastise is still a very good stun. You can also play I'm not going to suggest monk, but monks that are very aggressive can actually make it work, because leg sweep is actually a very powerful stun. But it is hard for them to actually survive, because you have to go melee, and a destruction warlock can help you, but a monk needs to also know whenever they have to go in or not. A good restoration druid is also very good, but I think that the current meta for Resto Druid is not to play super aggressive. So I think Destruction Warlock has more business with another healer. You can also play double DPS, so you can play with a Shadow Priest, that works too. You can play with a Frost Mage or an Arcane Mage or even a Fire Mage, that can also work. It's not easy though. You're going to lose a lot of games that maybe are winnable just because of a healer. But you can make it work. I would not play with a melee, maybe with a rogue, if the rogue is very good at peeling, but they need to play subtlety. But I would suggest to stick with casters. In trees, caster cleaves, wizard cleaves. So basically you play with Frost Mage, you can even play with a Fire Mage, you can play with an Arcane Mage, you can play with a Shadow Priest, you can play with an Elemental Shaman. Those are the classes that you will love. Like a Devastation Evoker is actually also good for Destruction Warlock, because both are really good targets to actually focus, and having another target that can give you a leeway at least towards casting more abilities is something that you should go and aim for. And in solo shuffle, you should look for escapes. You should look to actually run away most of the time. But whenever you can burst with your Infernal, that's the moment where you're going to do a double Mortal Coil into double Chaos Bolt, maybe a triple Chaos Bolt, and try to kill someone in your go. And then you need to run away if they survive. But that's pretty much it. In RBGs, it's going to be very good. So don't worry if you are a RBG fan. Destruction Warlocks are still going to be very good. They might tell you to go Affliction, but you can also say, look, Destruction is good, let me test it. If you don't like it, I'll go Affliction, or just quit the group, right? You can do whatever you want, and you will be golden. Again, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Please, in the comments, you will see the build, the loadout, and you can ask me any question. I will respond as clearly as possible. At least I will try. If you have any suggestions video-wise, like ideas that you want me to actually do on YouTube, please let me know. I will do that for you guys. Again, I'm very happy for Destruction Warlocks, but I'm not very optimistic for Season 1. I don't think they will get buffed. I think it's more for Season 2, whenever they see that Destruction Warlocks is not the most popular spec. But you and me, we're going to make Destruction Warlock work. So please, again, try your best and you will see that you will be golden. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. We will catch each other very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.
And make a statement, I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative.